Now welcome to another edition of News from Naboo with Thor's Lightning Takes. And let's get right to the news.
I want to talk about something a little different, but trust me, it relates to Star Wars. You just got to give me a second to get there, okay? Brandon Sanderson has responded to the cancellation of Amazon's Wheel of Time show.
We saw the first season of
We
that.
did, we
Didn't
did.
really
I
get
don't
into
think
it.
we even finished the first season. I've read the first
Some of the books,
three
yeah.
or four books. I've been making my way through it. It's an epic fantasy, and I like that kind of
Yeah,
stuff.
and he's not the initial author of it either. He took over
Yes.
with the passing of Robert Jordan, right?
Mm-hmm,
I read the first book way back. It was given away. I think it was at Gen Con, and they gave away the first book, or the first half
that's
of the book or
cool.
something. Yeah, long
Yeah,
time
but
ago.
Robert Jordan passed away in 2007, and Brandon Sanderson came in and he finished the story. He wrote the last 3 or 4 books or something. I can't remember exactly how many, but he wrote a bunch at the end.
Yeah.
Sanderson is well known in the fantasy world. He
Oh, yeah.
churns out novels.
He is a
It's like his
machine.
mind cannot contain
Yeah.
them. I have not read much of his work. I have read the first of the Mistborn books, and I really, really enjoyed it. Took me a second to get into it, but once I was in, I was hooked. But yeah, he wrote the last 3 of the Wheel of Time books. And then he served as a consulting producer on the television adaptation, being someone who was involved in the writing process for finishing the series.
Makes sense, yeah.
Makes sense. After season 3 was canceled, which was the best of the 3 seasons, is what I was told, he finally weighed in to say a few things to the fans, offering his sympathy. He stated, "I won't miss being largely ignored. They wanted my name for legitimacy, but not to involve me in any meaningful way."
I love that he said something.
I'm happy that he said something
Yeah.
because
Isn't this the problem?
yeah,
Isn't this the problem with all these franchises? That,
George R.R. Martin, how much was he actually involved in finishing
Well,
the story for Game of Thrones?
Yeah, I'm thinking more along the lines, another Amazon Prime show, Rings of
Mm-hmm.
Power. Yeah, we can do it better than Tolkien. No problem.
Can you imagine being Sanderson on the show? He's a fantastic, successful fantasy writer.
Yeah, maybe the most in the modern era. Except for a
yeah.
George R.R. Martin. He's probably the second name or first or
He
second
was
name
a
that comes to
fan
mind.
of the Wheel of Time series. He came in, he finished it, and then, it's not like he needed the money to come to the show. Like I said, he's a successful
Yeah,
fantasy
he
author.
cranks
He's
out books
good.
and they sell. They're all bestseller. Well, not all best. You know what I mean, though.
Yeah. Then they just use him. They ignore his suggestions, and they use his name to get people to watch the mess of a show they put out, and I find that shameful.
Well, it's just stupid. It's just stupid. You know you have somebody who was versed enough in the universe and beloved enough in the universe by the fans who... I don't know. I'm not a big Wheel of Time guy, so I don't know how much people do or do not like the finish to the story he put in there. But I'm assuming it went over pretty well. So you have kind of the expert, the guy who finished the story, and you're like, we're not gonna listen to you. We're gonna do it ourselves.
We want your name on it because we know you worked on the
'Cause your
series
name
and
will
you're
sell.
a successful
Yeah.
fantasy writer.
Because it adds legitimacy, like he was saying. It adds credibility. It's like, oh, this is approved by the guy who finished the story. When in all reality, they're like, no, we don't. We just want your name, and we're going to do it ourselves, and we're probably going to screw it up because we've got all these ideas that are going to be better than Robert Jordan, who made it famous in the first place.
Right. I feel like they do the same thing in Star Wars. They brought in Timothy Zahn from the EU because everyone loved the Timothy Zahn Thrawn. Everyone thought
he
it was
is-
great. They're like, well, if we're going to bring his character in, let's have him write some books on the new stuff, but let's make him change the character. It's not, it's not the same Thrawn as the EU
No.
Thrawn. And then they brought it to, the screen, you could say. They brought him in animation and in Ahsoka, and he's not the same Thrawn.
Not even just in the way they portray him, but in what he was accomplishing. Like the original, not the original Thrawn, the new canon Thrawn, let's call him, because he's different than the original Thrawn from Heir to the Empire and so on and so forth. But this one, he wanted to join the Empire. He was kind of assessing to know if they would be an ally to them, because out in the unknown regions, which is also called the Chaos, because there's some trouble traveling and you need Skywalkers. That's a whole other thing. But out there, they have the Grisk, who are a big threat. And so he was sent to kind of assess the Empire. Could they be an ally? Could we use their help? And that is all just kind of dropped in Ahsoka.
Yeah,
Like,
they
he
don't
just
bother
wants to-
with him at all.
No,
they don't
there's no
explain
motivation.
His character. They
No.
go, "Hey, it's Timothy Zahn's character. Everyone get excited, yeah!"
Yeah.
Because they're using his name to sell something that he probably doesn't have much say over or part in at the moment.
Well, we've heard that Timothy Zahn was like, hey, I'll write you a book between, what happened out in the other galaxy and all of that. And you would assume he would have gladly came on board to help Filoni write the damn thing. Why do you ignore him and take that character and just yeah, this is my Thrawn. He's blue. That's about the only similarity between the two.
Okay, it's just bothersome because when you're making an adaptation, everyone knows there's going to be changes when you're moving characters,
Sure.
even when you're moving characters from a book into a live action, or when you're turning a book into something live action. We understand there's going to be edits, there's going to be changes, even very faithful adaptations.
Lord of the Rings. We can go back to the best adaptation from book to movie, which isn't totally faithful.
Right.
And there are things in there that I don't approve of or agree with.
The first 2 Harry Potter movies did a really good job, and they're the shortest books in the series. We've also talked about the first season of Game of Thrones. Really pretty faithful adaptations. That
almost a
the
1-to-1, yeah.
You don't even notice them, really, because they've made some decent changes. Good changes to fit it into the time slots they needed. Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban, they made more changes, I think, than most of the books, but it's also one of the best adaptations in the series. It stays true to the source material despite the changes they make to show additional material.
Like, there are some changes in The Lord of the Rings, which I don't love, but overall, I love it. I'm never going to get over the fact that Sam ever leaves Frodo.
I know.
Always bugs the hell out of me. Doesn't happen in the books that way.
But the problem is that Hollywood showrunners and writers, they have to accept the fact that they are probably not going to be better than the original authors who made these works famous, who made them great. That their job is to faithfully tell the story they've been given, making needed changes to adapt the IP from book to screen.
Yeah,
Whether
not
that
to
be cutting out,
reimagine. I don't want your reimagine. There's a reason why, say, Tolkien is famous, because he is perhaps the greatest writer or most well-known or fiction writer of the 20th century.
Yeah.
So maybe you can't add some. Maybe if you're a rando doing Rings of Power for Amazon Prime, you're not going to be doing better than he did. Just saying.
No.
Maybe try to faithfully recapture what he did as best you possibly can. And a
Peter,
touch of change here and there.
Peter Jackson, the fact that he sped the timeline up made things feel more urgent, and I think that was a success in the adaptation.
Sure.
I think that worked well for the movie audience.
No, you can certainly feel the love and the care and the passion that Jackson and everybody put into that, even though, yes, there are changes, and like I said, some of them I'm not a fan of, but you get it.
You do. You understand.
The intent was very clearly there. I don't know. I get tired of it, honestly. Just every new writer wants... And I've said before, like, a lot of them probably get thrown into that. I'm sure a lot of these writers would love to do their own thing, but they're like, no, the only thing we have available is to rewrite this story. So in order for them to stand out, I'm sure a lot of the time they're like, I'm going to make Wheel of Time better than Robert Jordan and Brandon Sanderson did.
They're trying to make a name for themselves by standing on the shoulders of better projects, better books.
You're standing on the shoulder of giants and claiming you're tall. It doesn't... you're not. You're standing on the work others have done. So try to respect that. Otherwise, they're going to shrug you off their shoulder where you belong.
All right, let's move into new this week in Star Wars, etc. Tuesday, tomorrow, Marvel's Ironheart, I believe, is dropping 3 of its 6 episodes.
Can't wait.
We'll see how that works. I'm curious. I'm curious about it.
Curious is a good word for it, yes.
I don't think we've decided yet if we were going to do a review or talk about the show on the channel or not.
We'll see.
You can leave a comment, tell us if you want us to, because I'm interested to. Don't get me wrong.
I mean, I will,
I
guess.
I like reviewing Marvel shows. I do.
We haven't been doing it a lot lately.
We did start Agatha, and then we just dropped off for some reason.
I thought we did all of Agatha. It was Daredevil that we didn't.
Yeah, Daredevil we stopped. I don't even know why. I enjoyed Daredevil.
Yeah, it was alright.
Yeah.
Some people really don't like it. I thought it was okay. It's not as good as the Netflix stuff in the long
run. Well, no, it's probably one of the better ones that Disney managed to make.
Yeah, I agree there.
Standing on the shoulders of giants again.
Exactly.
For Wednesday in comics, we have The Comic of Love. Legacy of Vader, number 5.
There it is.
Kylo Ren and the First Order are beginning their assault of Naboo.
Yep.
Because,
cool
he's
stuff.
following Vader's footsteps here. Now he's got to go visit Naboo.
Yep.
Interesting. We also have Star Wars The High Republic Adventures, number 19. Thursday, we will have voice chat once again at 8 p.m. Central Time.
And some Battlefront 2.
Probably some Battlefront 2 where everyone can watch me die on repeat. I didn't realize people are cheating in the game.
Well, there's a lot of cheating in there, yeah.
Not the people we're playing with, but we see the chat and people are like, yeah, you're in your damage mods. I was wondering how I'm getting one-shot all the time by jet troopers.
Yeah, there was this one guy who kept shooting me just once and had just like a regular pit. I don't remember what the guy is.
It showed like the tiny little pistol, and I'm like, how did I just
he one-shotted everybody.
By that?
It's so cool. You're so good.
And I feel like people have way better ways to survive because I play sniping a lot, and I'm shooting people in the head multiple times, and they're not going down, and it can't just be me, right?
If you need to cheat in an online video game to do well and to feel good about yourself, you need to find a new hobby. That's my take.
All right. There's no movies or anything this week, Friday, to talk about. Maybe next week we'll talk about some movies. We'll see.
All right.
Yeah, movies are coming. They're coming.
They are. It's a big July.
Yeah, we'll have people tell us if you want us to do some of the reviews that might be
Sure.
coming up. Because I would like to talk about it because we are comic book people too. We love comics, so I like to talk about the comic-y stuff.
Go figure.
Go figure, indeed.
All right, well, that is going to be all we got for you this time. Now it is your turn. Take to the comments below. Tell us what you think of any and all of today's news. And let's talk some Star Wars. And so until next time, thanks for watching.